Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now, we are joined by somebody trying to get in during the intro, which is Chocolate saying, Neil, Adam Meakin, Arwin, 10th Man, and there's somebody else who I've missed. Who did I miss? And a whole bunch of people in Discord.
Hello.
No, I didn't miss anybody. 10th Man, Chocolate, Neil, Adam, Arwin. Yeah, that's everyone.
Oh, you got everyone.
Good to have
morning.
you. Morning.
Hello,
Good
everyone.
afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon.
Good to have you all.
Peace and love, baby.
Welcome. An evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon, formerly known as the curve of the Earth.
4 more hours.
Come again, Arwin?
4 more hours?
I asked if there was an evidence of Earth curve. What do you mean 4 more hours?
Nathan, what's interesting about that question is, do we even have to have it as a question if there were, you know what I'm saying? If there was, we wouldn't even have that question. It'd be like, you dummy, it's right there.
Well, obviously we're waiting for the response from a globe believer who's, you know, I was going to say stumbled away across this show, but I doubt that's ever going to be the case. But there we go. For the hypothetical scenario where there's a normie globe believer who stumbles across this show live and goes, I'm going to get in on there. They say any evidence of Earth curve. I've seen the horizon.
Can I role play that position?
Rumour point, thank you.
No, I want to I expand your point. Let me pretend I'm the glober who just came onto your show, and I'll role play that part and see how you do with me. Fair enough?
Okay, well, what would you give as evidence of Earth curve?
Well, let's start at the beginning. Ask that question, and then I'll respond, and we'll
I just did.
go.
What's your evidence of Earth curve?
Read the question. No, I just want to reset. Start the question again, and we'll start. And
there's no do-overs. This is a live show.
I know. Nathan, just ask that question again, and let me respond.
Yeah,
Any
you just don't
evidence
have
of
a rebuttal to my 4 more hours.
Oh, any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon, formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
Excuse me, host of the show. I assume you're Nathan Oakley. What do you mean formerly known as the curve of the Earth? All my life I was told it is the curve of the Earth.
Well, if the curve of the Earth was the horizon, then it'd be at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, as per the geometric limitations laid down in Earth curve maths. But we have imagery that shows it's beyond the geometric limitations of a sphere edge horizon, formerly known as Earth curve, at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. Black swan.
Okay. Let's say I look at the black swan and I come back to you with, okay, so you're telling me that all my life I've been told the Earth is a sphere and it's based on the radius where the curvature would be based on the height of the observer, and this is the exact math for it, correct?
That's the Earth curve math.
Okay, and it's not there because I'm looking at the picture and it's beyond the oil platforms when it should be well in front of the oil platforms.
You're a very conciliatory globe believer.
No, I'm just being honest with the picture and the globe math and what the question in essence is saying.
Well, there's your problem straight away. No, none of the attributes of somebody who would come here to defend the globe there. You haven't got any of them. You're not role playing a glober.
No, I'm giving a contrast.
I was just going to say that too. Sorry.
Well, you guys are ruining everything.
Because you're saying you're being honest and assessing the actual the question that's being asked and giving an honest answer to it. Yeah, none of the above none of the above if you're role playing a globe believer.
No, you got it wrong. I have met people who are globe believers that when we show them the black swan, their jaws drop. I'm trying to play that guy.
Yeah, you're trying to play the hypothetical guy I tried to distinguish as not coming by this neck of the woods, that if he was to stumble across the question, now you're role-playing that guy, but
Yeah.
none of us have got a comparison to that guy.
No, I just came across to this neck of the woods, and you're bashing me for coming here instead of just saying, "Wow, we got someone who finally gets it right."
See, now he's behaving more like a globe believer. Now you can carry on.
You're terrible. What a reception I get here.
Yeah,
Like,
now
if
you're
they come
getting it.
in-
Now you're getting it.
Yeah. If I come here and I argue with you, yeah. If I come here and don't argue with you, well, we don't like
See,
you.
that
You
was
need to argue
absolutely
with us.
perfect. Absolutely zero response to the actual question. A criticism of how you've come here and what you've been presented with and how the attitude's been. That was perfect. That was
I
much
know.
more
All
like
right.
it. So
Well,
then,
I'm done.
hold on. Now we're into the role play. Now I say, no, that's just an ad hominem attack or an appeal to format. So, no, that's fallacious, I'm afraid. You haven't addressed the Earth curve edge horizon beyond its limitations. It's beyond its limitations. It's the end of
I was
the
about
argument.
to admit to it through the pictures and the Earth curve math, and you stopped me from converting. What's going on here?
I did no such thing.
Yeah, you did.
What I'm lost at what we're role playing here. Are we role playing a baller coming in here, or 10th when he gets to like I don't know, like he gets a normie in the church car park on a Sunday after
That's
service?
what. Now I did preface it like it was a normie in the church car park. So I said that guy that doesn't come by here that I'm hypothetically appealing to because I want him to say, well, of course the horizon's Earth curve, but that guy doesn't
Yeah.
exist.
Yeah, but
Here.
you're not realizing how powerful that question is.
See, 10th man is doing a fusion, right? Because we got two things. We got honest globers, and then we got ballers that show up here. Now, the thing is, we don't have honest globers that show up here, so 10th man is playing both roles. That's what it is.
Thank you, Chocolate. And what a reception I got for being the kind of person that should show up here. Maybe I'll never show up here again.
Shut up, Fundy.
Straight
now
into
we're on
a
fire.
theatre format. Shocking.
So Earth curve edge.
Uh,
Go on, chocolate.
To answer your question before, you said something about why are we calling it formally? Because the people that showed up here before you all claimed, and these are the same people that believe that this spherical edge of a ball exists. They tell us now that we can't see this thing. So that's why it's formally known as Earth curve. Because apparently the geometric horizon isn't the Earth curve anymore, even though they're still teaching it
Yeah.
to kids.
Yeah,
So,
I like Chocolate better than Nathan. He's more conciliatory right now. So let me go with Chocolate. Yeah, Chocolate. I did all that, which was in broken pieces, because I had an idea behind the whole skit that we were just going back and forth with. And that's for all the anti-flat earthers and the hostile globers who come here. That I was pretending to be a glober who was not biased, who wanted the truth. And when I heard Nathan ask that question, formally known, I said, why is it formally? This is what I was taught all my life. What do you mean formally? And then Nathan says, well, if you go to the Earth curve math, you can see it doesn't match. So that's why we say formally known, because it's not real. It would be here, but it's over here. And over there is apparent. It's not even physical.
Well, that's linked up, right? Because he said that it doesn't match with the math, the geometry that we supposedly have. So
Right.
if the geometric horizon is where, or was where it should be, which is at 1.225 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, then it would still be Earth curve. The reason that they're saying it's not is because it's not.
No, I got that.
Wait,
but see, the way I came in, I'll let Adam comment, because I know you want to say something.
I'm
Is
trying
that yeah, just exactly that, but I wanted to give a contrast for the audience and the globers and the anti-flat earthers, that if you come on this show and hear that one question and say, what do you mean formally? And then the proof is given why we say formally, I have to now behave a certain way. I'm either going to get hostile I'm either going to be mad because you revealed the truth that was not there in my mind before. I'm going to defend something that just got destroyed in front of me and I can't defend it. And I'm going to look silly defending it because that is my globe math and must be there, but it's not there. What's the behavior after I find out I possibly have been lied to all my life?
This is not a sexy roleplay. I'm not turned on at all.
Well,
Let me
well,
have one go.
we can't tell you how to behave. That would be up to you, right?
God, you guys are missing it. Go ahead. Maybe you
Let me have a go, because I think I might be getting Tom's point. So I'm going to be a newbie. So I'm coming to you and I've seen that question and I go, what do you mean formally? I've just literally left the Church of Heliocentrism, where I've had a wonderful morning with Bill Nye telling me why boats disappear over the horizon. Yeah, one of the top priests has just spent the morning. How can you say formally known? It's still part of my mainstream rhetoric. Is that what you're saying, Tom?
You got it, Adam.
Because formally it was as per this maths on screen right now with an X marking a position with a straight line to it. That's a geometric Earth curve horizon, marked with an X, labelled horizon, with a straight line to it. Now, upon showing that the position in orthographic representation as it is here is beyond that position, we are now told that the line to the horizon, as per this diagram, is in fact bent. So now you end up with O to G being the formerly known as the Earth curve edge geometric horizon, and the one that they now claim we see at OH. That's a bent line. Well, that's not going to give you geometry to utilise when you require that tangent, O to G. Why do you require O to G? Well, because G is Earth curve. It was marked with an X labelled horizon in the previous diagram and used by Al-Biruni here to acquire the radius, again with a straight line to Earth curve. So when you tell us, oh, there's no straight line to Earth curve, we can't see the geometric horizon, then you can't see Earth curve as depicted here, marked at coincidentally C. So the geometric limitation that used to block boats and buildings, as depicted here by National Geographic, is the formerly known as Earth curve edge that blocked this boat, debunked by the Black Swan.
Right, so if I'm a newbie or a neutral, that's really complicated. If you just show me the Black Swan and everything that I've just sat through with Bill Nye suddenly becomes very questionable. I don't need any maths or any diagram. I just need that Black Swan explaining to me. And everything I learned at Heliocentric Church that morning has now been thoroughly debunked. I don't need maths, just my own eyes.
So let's give a rendition of it now, and then we can all say amen afterwards. If the Earth was a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles, then every distance to Earth curve could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, as depicted 2 slides ago on the Earth curve mathematics. The distance to the horizon in the image labelled Black Swan is beyond the geometric limitations of an Earth with a sphere radius value 3959. Therefore, the horizon is not Earth curve, and the Earth is not a sphere.
Okay, Nathan, go to Master B, and Adam, I just posted the Black Swan. Keep your role play going since no one liked mine.
This is not a role play anymore. I've said the safe word.
Come on, Nathan.
I've said that safe word.
Come on, Nathan. Get with it.
Swan is the safe word. Anyway.
Adam, comment on that picture that you said you don't need the math, you just need the picture. I just posted it in Master B.
Yeah, so from my seminar this morning, I was told that the reason that the boat is disappearing isn't to do with optics or anything, it's to do with Earth curvature obscuring it. And yet now I'm showing a picture here, which the first platform is 6 miles away, and there's no obscuring, and there's no obscuring at 9. And I can still see off into the distance. It's in complete contradiction to my teachings from the Reverend Nye this morning, and completely debunks what he said was going off.
Can I ask you a question, Adam, who was possibly formerly from the Church of Bill Nye?
Oh my God.
May I ask you a question? Role play with me since Nathan won't. Yes or no?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, good. Please, no one interrupt. So now, Adam, that you see this and your senses tell you, wait a minute, if Bill Nye, the high priest of my church, says, I live on a sphere, and that Earth curve has to be at 1.22 miles, and here we have actual proof that it's not. At this point, without knowing anything else, Adam, do you have any doubt in your mind about the claim of Earth being a sphere based on this picture?
Doubts are now sown. My own internal logic is in conflict.
Okay.
Am I
You're
going to say it's flat? No, but I've got serious questions.
Yeah, you're on the right road. Continue down this road. Because if you could prove to me we live on a sphere with a radius of 3959 and show me Earth curve at a 1 foot observer height starting at 1.22 miles, I'll come to your church of Bill Nye, okay?
Objection.
That's
Okay.
the challenge. That's the
Objection.
challenge.
John.
What the hell? I thought this was a role play. Now it's a courtroom drama. Go ahead.
I know, we had some.
I'm going
we
to
had
take
some-
that challenge up and never get back to you.
Okay.
It's 99% done.
Well,
I
I
want to
was just
hear.
gonna-
I want to hear the objections. Go ahead, John. What's up?
even if the horizon did seem to conform to what we understand as geometry, and every horizon did appear at 1.22 times the observer's height in feet, Earth can't be curving, else we wouldn't be able to attain elevation angles from it.
Yes. And
Well, is there any evidence that you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline?
As the newbie, I'm confused why you'd say it's a curved baseline now, because that looks flat to me.
It has to be if you're measuring an elevation angle. So the end result is a height measurement, if you want to call it that. And the height is in the vertical plane. And the vertical plane that you're measuring in is measured with respect to the horizontal plane. Therefore, if you're measuring an elevation angle full stop, the prerequisite, the requirement is that you have a vertical plane and a horizontal plane. So there are multiple ways of establishing that horizontal plane so you can measure in the vertical. One of them is the horizon.
Hey, Adam, that sermon that you attended this morning of the high priest, the high priestess Bill Nye.
Yeah.
He was showing you a curved baseline, right? That's the curved baseline that they're talking about. He showed you that when he showed his little toy boat going over a little toy globe.
No.
curved
Let's just
baseline.
rephrase chocolates. Sorry, chocolate. When he showed a boat falling over an earth curve edge.
Yeah. That's supposedly the curved baseline that they're supposedly taking angles from. But being that you can't take an angle from a curved baseline, that would be wrong, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but Bill's model was only little, so it might be virtually flat, wouldn't it, if you just measure in a few miles. So it would be just as good as flat.
That's kind of the
And I've just
antithesis.
been
Hold
looking up.
on. It seems Adam's now role-playing anti-flat earther. No,
No, I'm not.
Well, that's the antithesis of the claim, isn't it? The claim is that the
Yeah.
Earth is falling away from you at 8 inches per mile squared from all positions, always, without exception. So you're saying, well, can I just have it as a bit flat? Well, no. That's the antithesis of a spherical surface.
There was a setup in there. The point I was making there was, yeah, but if we're doing navigation, we're not dealing with a couple of miles. We're dealing with hundreds and thousands, and the applied curvature would have to be demonstrated. That there's where you've got your curvy baseline. See, in the mind of a newbie, I can still ignore that because it looks flat, even though I know it's curved. So if I'm only dealing a little bit, then it might be a little bit out. So,
Well, how much is a lot?
Those flat earths are probably wrong.
What's the maximum?
I've no idea. I'm a newbie.
Oh, I'm asking anybody on the panel, if you've got a star above the horizon, and let's say, what's the pre-required elevation angle? Is it above 15 degrees? Is that correct, or is it 20?
No. Hang on. You rephrase that question. The maximum is
I haven't asked it
90.
yet.
So,
I haven't asked the question yet.
I'm clairvoyant. I know where you're going.
Well, my interim question is, how high above the horizon do you not have to concern yourself with the claim to be refractive effects of the star slowing down as it reaches the horizon? What's the degree?
It doesn't matter. Nathan, I'm trying to tell you it doesn't matter because it's 90 that you minus from. So no matter what, 90 times 60 nautical miles is 5,400 miles.
No, you're confusing me now. Now you're going to have to explain. Stick with the distance. So just say 20, which is 70. So that's 4,200 nautical miles. Give me those numbers. They're numbers that you can pull off. And I go, oh, bloody hell. 4,200, that's more than 4,200 miles, isn't it? Nautical. Bloody hell. No, I suppose over that distance, that you couldn't even consider the surface flat. Ooh.
But what is the area? What's the biggest circle you can draw?
5,400 miles.
5,400 miles?
On their globe, it's when Polaris is at 0 on the horizon, and if you take it all the way above your head, that would be 90. 90 times 60 is 5,400 miles. If it disappears, they say it goes under.
No, so on both model, so the celestial sphere model, the maximum you could measure is 90, isn't it? Down to the horizon. Even if you got something on the horizon, you could maximum you could have is 90, and that's the same for the globe model. The maximum you can have is 90. How it's attributed is different. So the R value of their circles of equal altitude would be the same, 5,400 nautical miles. This is something that's been lost, how you then apply that area, because you've got the mismatch for the globe model that you've got this circle of equal altitude, but that literally just sits like a hat on top of a ball at the tangent point of the GP of the star position. As for anything else, it has no contact with the surface. I know I've stopped being a newbie here.
I'm just talking about the overall surface area itself. If you've got a radius of what for the biggest circle of area of equal altitude circle that you draw, if you've got a star at 90 degrees to your position, how big is the radius for that circle?
5,400 nautical miles.
Thank you, Adam.
That's the radius.
Yeah,
right. Diameter would be twice that.
Yeah.
Hold on.
That would mean someone on the other.
Something's not adding up here. That's a bigger than the globe Earth's radius, isn't it?
It is if you're comparing unlike for unlike.
What?
See, a lot. I'm just getting feedback, I think, from Discord, because it comes to the question is, what are you going to allow on a ball? Are you going to allow 1 meter squared, 1 nautical mile squared to be placed on a ball where you can't? The only bit of that circle of equal altitude you can place on the ball is the point source at the tangent. As for everything else, because the ball's falling away, no other point will intersect the circle of equal altitude, the flat plane you've created. So it's whether or not you allow it to be wrapped around the ball via the longitude and latitude. And if you do that, then I did this calculation yesterday. Let me just go to it. It's in the war room. Because of the way in which you calculate, the two would be different. If you're allowing it, okay. So if we were to just take the flat, we would just take the standard pi r squared to give us the area of that circle equal altitude, which would be 91,620,720 nautical miles squared.
For what? Say that once. I got the square. I've got the squared value. But For what?
For
Flat.
the flat version. So that circle of equal altitude will occupy an area on the flat surface, a flat surface area of 91.6 million squared nautical miles. If we were to do it on the ball, then what we can't do is, and we're giving them the apologetics that we're going to wrap it onto the ball. So the maximum R within their ball is the 3959R, but that you kind of have to ignore because it's not that R. We're going to take the surface area and apply it via longitude and latitude to the ball. And in doing so, that means that 90 degrees is observed from the equator to see the pole star, say, at 90 degrees. Now, that would mean that that circle of equal altitude created on the surface of the ball would be equivalent to a whole hemisphere of the ball. So you could see that star at 90 degrees at anywhere on the equator. Yeah. So that would mean an equivalent surface area. So the area of a ball is 4 pi r squared. But remember, what you've got to do is then divide that by 2. So that gives you then a surface area of land on the ball Earth of double 183.2 nautical miles squared. So this is the contradiction.
Which is
in
what?
terms of the surface
Which is how
areas
many
and how
miles? You
apply
gave it.
if
Hold on.
you allow.
Sorry to interrupt. You gave us in the value for the overall value, 5,400 mile radius, area of equal altitude at 96 million or something like that. What was the? I can't remember the number now, but it was dedicated to air. And what's the?
91.6.
Say again.
91.6.
91.6 million square miles, correct?
Yeah.
And what's the value? You just gave it in for the single hemisphere.
Yeah. So if we were doing it and we're applying how you and what you could see 90 degrees on a ball, then the positions that you would be able to see it from would be equivalent to the whole of the equator, which would mean the surface area is equivalent to the whole one hemisphere of the ball, which is equal to 183.2 million nautical miles squared.
Okay.
This has, but that's if you do it that way. That's not how it's done. This is this is the point. But Brian threw this kind of thing in is because kind of trying to conflate the two things shows where things don't match. Most basically, like I say, at the point that you've got this circle of equal altitude, which is flat, which is calculated as a disk, not as a hemisphere or a segment of a sphere. It's not calculated like that. And this shows you the difference. It's allowing a bendy R in a way, if you see what I mean.
Well, no, that ain't the point that you do the bendy R. It's after you've formulated your celestial sphere, then you take and apply the Haberstein formula and put those positions on the celestial sphere. So the globe is a flat Earth model. They just don't know it.
Sure. But what I'm just trying to get to is we've got a 91 million mile square area for one, not even talking about a hemisphere at this point. We're just talking about a star you've sighted and drawn a circle on a map, right? That gives you 91 million square miles. And then you're saying the entire half sphere globe is 180 million. Is that correct so far? Am I following the maths? I'm not great with maths.
Yeah.
I'm not going to admit that I'm but am I following along so far?
Yeah.
Okay. So one circle of equal elevation at its maximum, doesn't matter where, will give you 1/2 of one hemisphere in terms of the amount of land. Correct?
Yeah.
So 2 areas at their maximum at radius 54, was it 54? Did you say?
Yeah.
Will give you about 180 million square miles. Am I wrong in my maths? Am I adding this up wrong?
No. Right.
That's so just from any one position, you could do a maximum totally chew up the amount of area you've got on one hemisphere with just 2 circles of equal elevation.
Yeah, but that's not as significant as it sounds because overlap doesn't matter. You can overlap and therefore you absorb some of those differences. When we're doing celestial navigation, it's just the points of intersection that matter.
No, I understand. You've got the two circles are going to cross, right? So potentially, when you draw out two circles, you would hope at that point that one of the 2 points of intersections that those two circles cross, leaving you with a sort of a fish shape, if you like, in the middle where they intersect. Yeah? Well, you would hope that one of the positions is over somewhere that you can't be, like a bit of land, if you're in a boat, because then you go, well, obviously that eliminates that position, so I don't have to do a third sighting. So that's very handy. But what you're saying is that ultimately means that the area of land that you're calculating has got something to be minused off because they cross over each other.
Yeah.
Okay. But about 6 months ago, we described how, admittedly without the maths, this is the subtle difference, which is why I'm focusing on it now. We said that if you had a guy in a boat and he draws out a circle to his left and sights a star, and a circle to his right and sights another star, and they overlap, but then a guy, I don't know, 10,000 miles away, 5,000 miles away, however far, sights the same star on the original guy's right. Now, it might be, a different position for the first guy, but they've both got that star as one of their circles. But the second guy can also have another area of equal altitude beyond him, to his right. Now, all of these must match at 90 degrees. They're all planes. But ultimately, you're going to run out of circles of equal elevation in terms of the amount of area that they cover right quick if we're 3/4 of the way of a globe Earth surface with one guy doing 3 circles. Am I wrong?
Yes and no.
Go on,
So,
am I wrong?
The nuance is what we're trying to find. It's not as easy as you think, because unsurprisingly, this is a well-developed mismatch onto longitude and latitude. So it's picking up that, and that's the issue. But to say, oh, I can just add two together and look, there's a mismatch. No, because on both models, it's wrapping round on the coordinate system you're using. So there's always going to be a meeting point, because it's rotating to get there.
I see.
So the overlaps.
I've got you. Now I understand now. So
Yeah.
because you're taking the latitude and longitude positions originally taken by way of elevation angle measurements to a flat plane and plotted into the celestial sphere model, and then the Haversine formula or Haversine formulas used to transpose that onto the globe Earth surface by reverse engineering of the projected angle up to the sky. Well, in that process, you're always moving the sphere around you of the sky, which is going to alter the positions on the ground in terms of how much area you've got at a given time. And so long as it doesn't presumably exceed it within one measurement, it will always work out from your position, because everything's in a perspective view just moving away from you. But in a map view, that's going to correlate to the actual latitude and longitude lines that you're actually using on a map, regardless of the map. So it will still match with a sphere either way, because of the back engineering of the elevation angles to Polaris to give you latitude and longitude. Is that correct?
Yeah. All of it's done on longitude. This is why when they bring the Haversine's done at the end. And all it is sticking the longitude and latitude onto a ball, and then using the spherical trig in that. But once you've done all that, you know what you have to multiply it by?
What?
To get your distance.
No.
Have a guess. R.
By R.
Fundamental.
Right. Of course.
Yeah, otherwise it's useless. So it's just a formula, and then they plug it in to their ball. Yeah. So it's just maths, that is. But all the stuff, all the positioning is done before any spheres applied to it. It's just done on the longitude and latitude system.
Very interesting discussion.
Yes.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun? As we're talking about elevation, high angles, if you will.
No. We're
It's
not,
over there.
We're not done with that discussion, please.
Oh, we're not?
My goodness. No, we're not. It's staring, and I want refractive curvature and Adam to jump in too. It's staring right at you. 90 degrees. When they say subtract from 90, that could never, ever take place from a surface that's curved.
Right, you've got to have the horizontal plane to get 90
So-
in the vertical plane. That's what we're dealing with, horizontal and vertical planes.
So if you go to Master B, look at the 4 slides I'm going to put, and I'm going to make a statement, and I want Adam and refractive curvature to respond.
Okay, it's up.
First one is measurement on the celestial sphere. So you see a globe Earth, and then from the center where there's a vertex, that projection, it hits the surface of the globe Earth where you see GP and 10 degrees difference. It extends through space all the way to the infinite celestial sphere in the inner part of the concave part of the celestial sphere. On the outer part of the celestial sphere is latitude, longitude lines that would match that presupposed Earth as well. Then it's reprojected down to the Earth, which is presupposed as a spherical triangle, a navigational triangle, PZX. Go to the next slide. So here's another way of saying it. They got the celestial sphere with the longitude, latitude lines on the outside, the stars are on the inside, and they all have a GP position on the Earth because it matches line for line, and stars, when they're at their zenith over the Earth, that's exactly where it would be on the Earth's surface. And yet you see in the middle, in that black area, is where the vertex is. So you can never have 90 on the surface of a globe, but you could say if your vertex is not a curved surface, you can get an elevation angle from it. And where do they got their vertex? In the center of a presupposed globe. Now we're going to look and see what's in there in a minute. But you can see this is a spherical triangle cut out from the Earth and projected from the angle all the way to the celestial spheres. You see that those 2 lines that create the angle go through the Earth's surface, extend to the sphere. Now this is reprojected back. Okay, that's all what the books say. Next slide. Here's another orthographic view of it, PZX triangle. So in this sense, they are going to use the North Star, the observer's GP, and the star's GP. And you can see it. Where's the vertex of this? Not on the surface. You can't get a 90 to minus from 90 on the surface. But right there in the middle, without a horizontal line, there's just a dot. And then all of a sudden, you've got 3 lines. One is the zenith position, one is the North Pole, and the other one is GP of the luminary. And it just goes right through the Earth, projects on this infinite imaginary sphere called the celestial sphere, which is a bigger sphere than the Earth, but matches it perfectly. And then it's reprojected back down to Earth as that navigational triangle you see there. Last slide. Oh, I just found out where they got their 90 from a flat plane. Oh, and the arc is what they say you live on. And we saw in the previous pictures that this thing went through the arc, hit the celestial sphere, and came back and laid on this arc. Where was the elevation angle taken from? A flat plane, because it's staring everyone in the face. When they say minus 90, it's all over for them because you can't get a 90 from this arc. You must go to a flat surface to get your 90 from. Where is that on their ball? Right here. But where's the bottom of it? There is no bottom of it. That's the equator line.
Perfect. Thank you, 10th.
You got
Getting
it.
more and more concise in this description of projecting a flat plane from your view of the heavens out onto a ball which represents the arc of the tool. So this gets replaced with a globe Earth inside it, and then a cavity where you're actually taking the angle from in this diagram. So why is there a black void? This is where you hold the sextant, right? Why is it a black void in the middle of the sphere Earth? Well, because what you're actually doing is taking an angle measurement that can only be done on a flat plane, and that's how you've got all of these latitude and longitude lines. That's where they've been derived from. the angle measurements taken from a flat plane, that's the only way they can be taken, to the stars as you observe them. You are not observing the sun, moon, and stars from the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth projected out to the celestial sphere model to be projected back down to a globe model to then give you what they call their spherical projection maps. They take what is on this map and project the points back out to a cylinder. They have to remove the flat Earth 3 times from what's actually happening. So you've got a flat Earth elevation angle measurement to the star. You've got that projected onto what is essentially the celestial sphere model, then projected back down to a globe, then projected back out to a cylinder, then rolled out flat. That's how your maps are made. It's nuts, isn't it? How much deception they've got to put these maps through to not let you realise that they've come from a flat plane in the first instance when you're using a flat map. And furthermore, if you ever say that, well, we're using a flat map, well, it's come from a globe projection. And if you do a cursory amount of research, you'll see that this reprojected from the sphere of the heavens back down to a point that you are standing in and looking out at on a concave surface. So you're literally a concave earther at this point. If you take that and project it onto a cylinder to roll out flat, you can make the declaration as a globe believer that the flat map is a spherical projection. Well, the spherical projection of what? The globe. Well, what's that? Well, it's a projection back from the sphere of the heavens. Well, what's that? Well, that's a sphere of the heavens flat Earth projection off a flat plane. That's the origins of the globe. Nuts, eh? Shout out to Goldie McKiernan. He says, support what you love. Big love from South Florida. Oh, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much for your support.
I was wanting to help out some of the anti-flat earthers with their vertical problem that they have now. You may not have heard it yet, but how they say that they can use a vertical to get an elevation angle without referencing Earth. Have you heard that claim?
Without referencing
Yes.
Earth.
Yes.
We're navigating it, but go on.
Well, what does vertical automatically reference
Horizontal.
when you say the word vertical?
Horizontal.
Well, it's in reference to Earth, because even in their diluted religion, if you drop a plumb bob in space, does it point down?
No.
So when you say vertical, you automatically are referencing Earth.
And if you're using vertical, you're referencing the Earth as horizontal, as a plane, because you're measuring in the vertical with respect to the horizontal.
That's right. It's more
There's
trouble for them.
There's another nuance, refracted curvature. When they say vertical and you don't need to use the Earth, they're not finishing the statement. So let me finish it for these people who are lying to everyone. And I say that with full conviction. Yes, I can get vertical without referencing the sea horizon because I'm going to use a artificial horizon method. Oh, to explain. Okay, well, I'm going to use a spirit level, get the bubble to get my horizontal so I could match my vertical and have perpendicular, like a plumb line. Okay, what other way? Well, I can get a pan of mercury and do that, and I could be on land like Lewis and Clark and do it that way. Okay, great. Now, what if you don't have a plumb line and you don't have a pan of mercury and you're at sea, and none of those methods work there because the boat is moving around too much, which they say it can't be used at sea. What did they use there? We had a guy come on the show and he said, well, the only thing stable at sea is the horizon. Also, they use the horizon. Is it a horizontal angle that they're looking for? No, it's a vertical angle. So what's the purpose of using the sea horizon, the Earth itself? Oh, because it's horizontal. It's a 180. Oh, so then when I rock the sextant left to right, when is vertical? Oh, you'll know vertical because when you rock the sextant left to right with the sun making an arc motion over the horizon, you'll know just when it's vertical, when it's kissing the horizon, and then you say mark, and that's your best bet to get vertical because we assume a flat Earth to give you horizontal. That's what they're not telling you. And they all match up. So a guy on land, a guy at sea would have the same result doing it both ways because you need a horizontal and a vertical. Earth is flat.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. I'm just saying that when they say that they can use a vertical to reference horizontal without referencing Earth, that's wrong. Because
I got it.
Yeah, okay,
No,
that's
that's
what I want.
And plus, this is a point that QE's been driving home when people start arguing about establishing horizontal with the horizon. No, you need a horizontal. It's a given. How you establish it? Well, there's a multitude of ways. But you're establishing a vertical angle measurement based on having the prerequisite required horizontal plane to measure it from. It's not a, well, we haven't got one because the horizon's got blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. You're using the horizon to get what you need. You don't need it to be curved, you need it to be flat.
It's in the name. What kind of angle do you want? Altitude. What's another name for that? Elevation. What's another name for that? Vertical. Well, you're establishing that, not horizontal. You already have that.
Yeah, as QE keeps saying, it's a given. Measurement of elevation angle. Elevation angle is the angle between the horizontal plane and the line of sight, measured in the vertical plane. Radar.
All game over.
It's radar
Yeah,
tutorial.
the way they put it, it sounds like it's already established, like it's right there.
Well, you've got to have it.
It doesn't say
It can't
anything
not
about-
be. That's the point. It can't not be. So when we argue with these tossers about how we're going to establish the pre-required must-have, must be there, must be understood to be what you're using horizontal plane, we'll argue about how we establish it with a sextant using the horizon. Yeah, we're establishing a horizontal plane.
Just another question, since we're going to beat it to death. Can you say perpendicular with just a vertical?
No.
Well, that's the thing. Hold on. Yeah, you could, but it would require Earth to be a flat plane.
Well, that's no. For them, that's no.
Yeah.
The word perpendicular, in of itself, requires something for it to be perpendicular to when you use it. Yeah. So you want a perpendicular something, you need a straight line for it to be perpendicular to, isn't it? Yeah. It's a reference, isn't it? It's not a statement of itself, because in of itself, it's just a straight line going up or whichever way you're orientated. It's perpendicular to the surface, isn't it? Or
I would say it's describing the relationship between two straight lines, right?
Yeah. Well, when you talk about solar angle or solar elevation angle, you've got, and I've got another citation, quote, the solar zenith angle is the angle between the sun's rays and the vertical direction. It is closely related to the solar altitude angle, which is the angle between the sun's rays and a horizontal plane. Since these two angles are complementary, the cosine of either one of them equals the sine of the other.
Wait, did you skip the sentence where it says where we have to establish this horizontal plane or where we can find it, or did it just assume that it's there?
Now, it has to be there, which is the angle between the sun's rays and a horizontal plane. So if you're measuring this vertical angle, you have a horizontal plane to be measuring it with. You can't not have it. It's a given.
Interesting.
That's correct.
My favourite one is sustainable by design. The altitude angle, sometimes referred to as the solar elevation angle, describes how the sun appears in the sky. The angle is measured between an imaginary line between the observer and the sun and the horizontal plane the observer is standing on. End quote.
Nathan, in Master B, you will find Merriam-Webster's definition of perpendicular.
When you're done, I want to read something from chat from yesterday.
Okay, perpendicular.
And you can't use Merriam-Webster.
Why not?
Why not?
That's one of those places that change the meaning of words that we was talking about yesterday. Be very careful with Merriam-Webster now.
All right, so we'll get a few more, but let's see.
It probably won't matter in this case. I was just being flippant, but
Yeah, maybe they've gotten woke lately, but right now we're going to go for perpendicular. And I bet you'll find 10 more that'll say the same thing. Definition of perpendicular, entry 1 of 2. Standing at right angles to the plane of the horizon, exactly upright. Being at right angles to a given line or plane. 2, extremely steep, precipitous. 3, often capitalized or relating to medieval English Gothic style of architecture in which vertical lines predominate. 4, relating to uniting or consisting of individuals of dissimilar type on different levels. Perpendicular noun, definition, a line at right angles to a line or plane as of the horizon.
Love it.
Okay, in chat yesterday, the guy says they take the line of sight to the horizon and line of sight to the star, and then measure the angle between them. Then we use an almanac full of figures obtained by calculations. Oh, I just lost it. Calculations which include Earth's curvature. Now, where does anything include Earth's curvature?
Well, he's just he's just taken 3 steps that measured a flat plane that required a flat plane to be assumed. So, well, he's just measured a flat plane.
I'll have a quick, hang on, Neil, I'll give you a quick answer for that. In the Nautical Almanac, where do all the measurements emanate from? The surface where it's curved or the center where there's a plane?
The centre, celestial sphere, off a flat plane. That's the only way you can have the angle. That's the angles that he described when he detailed it. As I just said, he's measuring a flat plane in the first instance to then tell us, well, I've got a reference to a sphere after I've measured a flat plane in 3 different ways.
So it's the same thing. That's why I put them in timeout, because we keep going over the same thing and they keep coming back with the same nonsense.
Well, Virus is in chat saying Nathan is lying. That's how bad this...
The actual reply is, okay, you've just told us about how you've measured these angles. How did you measure those angles off a curved surface? Oh, you didn't. You measured them off a flat surface. So you're measuring off a flat surface.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hello.
I'd like to ask Tim a question about celestial navigation.
Feel free.
I posted a depression graph in the main chat on Discord.
Can someone share this with 10th in Skype, please?
I've heard
What's your question?
Brian and Adam talk about how if you're at different altitudes, you get the same angle to the stars.
Hold on, I'm a bit confused about your question already. The same elevation angle.
Yes.
You just said you put a depression angle chart in the chat.
Yes, that's my question, because there is one, an adjustment for the sun.
Okay.
The sun and the moon do have issues, yeah, in terms of they aren't fixed like that. So you, because of their transit, you're dealing with adjustments all the time. When we're talking about that irrelevance of your altitude, we are talking specifically about the stars. Like I said, we didn't preclude the sun and moon, but as you can see here from this table, they are special cases.
Yeah, I mean, that's
What's
what I
the
thought was very
question? What's the
interesting.
question? What's the question?
Could
I
you
think that was
please
it, wasn't it?
explain this to me in English, what it means?
Yeah, it's very simple. I don't even have to go to. I saw it. Now I'm off it because I saw what you put up there. How do you get an elevation angle? That's where we start. That's what I found out was the inconsistency in all the books. So I'm going to answer your question, but first you got to answer mine. How do you get an elevation angle? Can you do that from a curved baseline, or must that be perfectly horizontal and plane?
It has to be horizontal.
Thank you. Once we got that established, now we can see that anything they say to us about getting an elevation angle from the surface of a curved object is a lie. Now we have to say, how did they fool everybody? Now we go into their books and we see chart after chart and math equation after math equation. I mean, man, this would give Adam a full week just to figure out. What are they doing?
Okay, stop.
They're trying to prove
Hold on a
it.
second, Tenth. I still don't understand what the question's been asked or how it's been answered when Adam said they're a special case. So maybe, Adam, if you understood the question, can you summarise what the question is? Because I don't understand.
Yeah, I think, as I understood it, the question was we don't have to make adjustments based on elevation angle when we're based on altitude. Yet here we have a table with regards to adjustments for altitude. And I think I was talking about it, was it yesterday when we were talking about lunatics? So there are considerations where you are for the sun and the moon. The first main bulk is just where the sun is, because that's hard of itself, yeah, because it's constantly moving, isn't it? And having different paths every single day. So that's what these tables were about. But there was also considerations. I think when there was the guy on Globebusters that was confusing everybody with his military sun tracking stuff, this is that. There are variances because I said even with the moon, these things are on separate paths and aren't in the same frame for me as the rest of the stars. They sit separate to it, and that parallax is what that you can use the moon for, to give you additional detailed information, exactly what time it is, crazy stuff. Yeah, those variances. So these are just those adjustments tables. So for the sun, etc. Just if you think about it logically, when you go up a mountain, yeah, you can see the sunset twice, sort of thing. That claim. That's what it's talking about. Those sort of adjustments, but that doesn't apply to just the stars themselves.
If I'm allowed to, once Adam is finished, I like to be allowed to finish.
I think that's me done. I think
Most of the reading says everything's so far away you don't have to worry about. But there are tables for the moon because it's closer for parallax, and parallax to them is 4,000 mile distance between the center where the angle is derived from and the surface where the observer is.
Hang on a second.
And that little,
Sorry.
hang on. That little bit, this is the way they explain it. I'm not buying it, but this is the way they explain it. All right. So that little parallax, they have a table for the moon. The sun and the stars, they're so small, it's irrelevant, but there are tables. So all they're doing, again, we're back to the initial question I asked, can this work with an elevation angle from a ball? No. So, okay, so somewhere in there, they have to do things to make you think it is. So they bring in parallax, but what's parallax? The parallax is not from the surface where you are to the star or sun in question. It's from the center to you. And if you are on the surface, your view is 4,000 miles skewed off from the guy at the center. And the books and tables, hang on, I can never finish. All right. If I can't explain the whole thing, then how are you gonna come in and say, I see a flaw? Yeah, the whole thing is a flaw, but let me finish the whole thing. So that parallax is just a distance of 4,000 miles. Now, that meaning the tables to fix it. Now, let me ask you a question. If they say in one breath, we don't do elevation angles to find the height because it's irrelevant, And what is 4,000 miles?
I was just about, that's what I was, when I jumped in and said, hang on a minute. They tell us that there's no height adjustment because the light's coming in parallel. But yet we've got a height adjustment for the sun.
Well, there's another problem too, and it's in the depression angle. Like the description of the depression angle that the book gives you is wrong because it's describing a differential angle from a flat plane to a curved surface when they talk about depression angles. But that's not what a depression angle is. It's a differential between two flat planes.
So I see, when they're giving you a dip angle as opposed to a depression angle.
Yeah.
So is the depression angle of the sun the apparent dip below the horizon, depending on your position?
Okay.
No. I don't even know what context you asked that question. The depression angle, let me put a slide of what a depression angle is. And if you're on the sun, which nobody is, you have a given reference line to create your depression angle, much like you need a horizontal to have your elevation angle. It's a given. You can't even have a depression angle without a horizontal reference line.
That's what I was about to say. You can't even have the depression angle without establishing a horizontal baseline first.
Exactly.
And just
Got to start flat.
These tables aside.
Hold on, just one second, Adam. Hold on, just one sec. Go ahead.
And chart that he posted, in the first sentence, it states that these tables were tabulated times of sunrise and sunset at ground level. So it even tells you right there on its own page.
So this is the point. These are very subtle nuances. Remember, we don't take elevation angles below 20 degrees because of issues. But when we're using the sun and the moon, we do really need to use them. If we're using the sun and moon, there isn't an alternative. There's lots of other stars. And look at what the table's describing. Table 2, at sunrise and at sunset and at civil twilight. So what it's describing is when these things are rising and setting. So really, at the points of dubiousness, these are some of the things that have been found. Yeah? So look at, there's a 0.8 depression at between 0 and 500 feet. And as you go up, there's a slight adjustment. But where is the sun? It's not high in the sky in any of these things, is it? It's sunrise and sunset. It's on the horizon, just hovering above it. And that's all it's describing here. Just an adjustment. Does that make sense? I don't. Is
yes,
that your
no, I
question?
just couldn't find a good.
You said, can you explain in English
Hold on,
what
he's answering
page
you.
is about?
Hold on. Go ahead. You couldn't find a.
I couldn't find a good explanation of what depression angle of the sun is. It just brings up mental health things.
That's funny. You got to be able to see the okie dokes when you read it. I tend.
We are
Yeah,
not
I got
laughing at
this.
mental health issues. We're laughing at the fact that depression angle and depression. Yeah, we're not laughing if you have a mental health issue.
You go to Master B, and I got a slide, and that was a good one from the gentleman.
Yeah. If any of the issues raised in this show affected you, there is a link.
Called 1-800-BALTARD. Help is standing by. Go, it's on 10th.
Yeah, so here's a guy at the bottom looking up for an elevation angle. Angle of elevation, it's right there. You need a reference line, horizontal. Now you got the sun. And now you got an angle of depression, is the complement. Now, who's at the sun looking down at the guy? Nobody. But if you were going to say, what would it look like? Here's a nice chart. What's your reference line for the depression angle? Well, it just happens to match the horizontal one that the guy used for the elevation angle. Oh, maybe this is why diverging zeniths don't work.
It's the okie doke.
Indeed it is. With that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, hit the thanks button after the fact, and all that good stuff. Another massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either Premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!